We're assuming that physical punishment is the worst thing ever, but it really depends on the amount of force that is exercised. It has to be reasonable. It cannot be overboard. And in Grenada, we are going overboard. This is the reason why we're even thinking about this. Children are being spanked, beaten with cutlasses, all kinds of things, all strange kinds of punishments are being inflicted on our children. It's wrong. So I believe that corporal punishment should exist with restrictions.
There are basically three elements to it. There corporal punishment at home, where parents try to discipline their children, corporal punishment in schools, and legally, there's corporal punishment in some countries that for various violations. The first point is that it is used primarily to correct a wrong, right? And so at the home, it is used, people believe that it should be used to discipline children, to keep them in line. Similarly, in schools where it is still practiced, but it's basically being eliminated in most schools. Legally, a lot of countries eliminate corporal punishment. We had it here for a while, where people are flogged for some departure from what is legal. And so in these instances, everybody thinks that a wrong should be addressed by inflicting some kind of pain. And in this day and age, it seems to have a kind of medieval twist to it, to be flogging people and not looking at the alternatives.
I am a father of 3 girls. They're approaching the more stubborn years, which is teenage. But so far, we've just been removing privileges. They would want to go sleepovers or school parties and these kind of things. That's one way we do it. And I speak to them a lot, especially one-on-one. If we're going for a drive, especially with just one of them, I would speak to them about their behavior and what I expect of them. And I remind them constantly that my job is to prepare them for adulthood, so that they can understand why I do the things that I do. Because even though they don't get corporal punishment, they're still upset with whatever corrective action I take.
But I believe that we can speak to children who are older and let them understand and know that it's wrong. I'm a Christian, so I believe in putting God in there. If you train up a child with godly values, they'll understand where you're coming from when you say that's not right, right? You give them a chance, they don't do it again. But if they do it again, I still believe in mercy, because we all make mistakes and they're kids.
Having received the corporal punishment growing up, in a lot of instances, bitterness kind of grew according to who was administering it. A lot of the times it's not associated with a very fair trial of the child. And so it you learn from young that your rights can be taken away in a very forceful manner.
In Grenada, we have a very serious problem with abuse. And this problem, especially abuse of children, is so serious that we want to avoid anything at all that suggests abuse or that can be even remotely connected to abuse, which corporal punishment is. It is connected to abuse. People don't understand how to correct children. They don't understand what it means to correct. People are administering corporal punishment in abusive ways, which is not acceptable.
It's not about brute force, but it's having this child learn to respond to reason and to be accountable for their actions and not do something because punishment will follow, but because it's the right thing to do.
People who grow up where their violence inflicted upon them become people who inflict violence on others because that's their conditioning. What society has to look at is how you correct it and where you start.
And if you're not administering corporal punishment and you speak to the child when you're angry, you would shout, which could be just as damaging. So you don't want that as well. You don't want the shouting and you don't want the beating. So I think it calls for parents to be constantly checking themselves and understanding what kind of relationship you want with the child, how you want the child to grow.
We all practice learned behavior. And so if you condition young people the right way, then we may have a difference of the outcome.
We can see that a corporal punishment is not really doing anything and making us model citizens. Because if it's really working, we're supposed to have less crime and more compliance.
We must not throw out the baby with the bathwater because we are afraid of abuse. We have to do the work. We have to differentiate between abuse and corporal punishment or spanking that is effective and in the right amount so that the country can raise children who have discipline and who are going to be productive citizens.